Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. In 2011, Hugh McGeough and his wife Jackie were brutally murdered, sparking one of the most mysterious and notorious criminal cases in Northern Ireland. The couple had been shot to death in a room equipped with bulletproof windows and doors. The gruesome scene presented no signs of forced entry or struggle. Hugh was found with a coffee cup in hand, shot in the back of the head, while Jackie was shot 3 times in the face near the kitchen entrance. The lack of any disturbance or noise suggested that the murderer was someone they trusted enough to allow inside. Stay tuned as we look at how the McGeough murders would lead to a string of deaths, culminating with the public execution of criminal Malcolm McKeown. At the time of his death, Hugh McGeough was infamous within the community as a well-known and prolific drug dealer. He gained notoriety in 2004 when he was sentenced to 9 years in prison for his involvement in the killing of Peter McNally, a 19-year-old who was shot in the head while asleep in a chair at a house in West Belfast in 2001. This murder was linked to a drug war between rival factions, painting a vivid picture of the violent world in which McGeough operated. In the year before his death, McGeough had invested £37,000 with the Lurgan loyalists to purchase a large cannabis shipment intended for Northern Ireland. However, the shipment was intercepted by authorities, leading to significant financial loss for McGeough. Furious and feeling betrayed, he demanded an immediate refund from his Lurgan contact. When the refund was refused, McGeough issued serious threats against the man, a move that would have dire consequences for him. The refusal to refund McGeough did not just end with anger. It spiraled into a plot that involved some of the most dangerous figures in Northern Ireland's underworld. The Lurgan man, fearful for his safety, turned to Malcolm McKeown, a 44-year-old local drug dealer with a notorious reputation for violence and murder. McKeown's criminal activities date back to the Troubles in the 1970s, when he was associated with the Loyalist Volunteer Force, or LVF, a paramilitary group in Northern Ireland. His brothers had also been convicted of sectarian killings linked to the LVF, a group that terrorized the region throughout the 1990s. Seeing an opportunity in McGough's predicament, the Lurgan man offered McKeown £10,000 to kill McGeough. McKeown, who harbored his own grudge against McGeough due to a £113,000 drug debt owed to him, saw this as the perfect chance to settle old scores. However, McKeown was not alone in his plans. He reached out to McGough's nephew, 31-year-old James Carlisle. Carlisle and McGeough had previously worked together in the drug trade, but had fallen out over financial disputes. When McKeown offered Carlisle £5,000 to participate in the murder, it took little persuasion to enlist his help. Shortly after the murders of McGeough and his wife, suspicions quickly fell on McKeown and Carlisle. In March of 2012, they were arrested and charged with the crime. However, by 2013, all charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence, and they were released. This lack of resolution only fueled the legend of the case, leaving a community in fear and a criminal network seemingly untouchable. Following their release, McKeown's gang took control of the Cavan area north of Armagh, dominating the drug trade in Northern Ireland. Despite his influential position, McKeown's violent and unpredictable behaviour made him widely disliked even among his associates. As McKeown faced betrayal from within his ranks and gained a reputation for coercing and intimidating other drug dealers, his list of adversaries continued to grow. In March of 2016, McKeown's close associate James Carlisle became the target of a drive-by shooting near a school in Crackdown. As Carlisle sat in his car waiting for his child, he was struck 4 times by gunfire. Fortunately, Carlisle survived the attack due to wearing a bulletproof vest. Despite no arrests or charges related to the assassination attempt, rumours circulated hinting at the involvement of a faction of drug dealers known as the Firm, who had grown weary of McKeown's heavy-handed tactics. The Firm, a well-organised and armed group, posed a significant threat to McKeown's dominance. In 2018, McKeown and Carlisle were apprehended following a police pursuit. Before their arrest, they had broken into the home of a 50-year-old resident in Lisbon, assaulting him and binding him with cable ties. With McKeown and Carlisle incarcerated, Jamie McVeigh, McKeown's 29-year-old enforcer, assumed leadership on the streets of Logan. Jamie McVeigh, a devoted admirer of McKeown, had previously shared a jail cell with him. Now acting as McKeown's enforcer, McVeigh implemented McKeown's extortion schemes against hesitant drug dealers. Despite becoming a father, McVeigh became embroiled in a series of violent activities orchestrated by McKeown from prison. Shortly after becoming a father, McVeigh found himself drawn back into the criminal world. His social media posts reflected his internal struggle to change for the sake of his newborn child, but it wasn't long before he transitioned from a devoted new father to a drug-addled killer. When his child was just a few months old, McVeigh went on a drug-fueled rampage that culminated in the murder of Paul Smith in Lisbon. Smith, a 50-year-old drug dealer, had refused to comply with McKeown's demands for money. During the assault, McVeigh and his accomplice, James Holmes, stole £80,000 worth of cocaine and cash, fatally shooting Smith in the chest as he sat on his sofa. Just 4 days later, McVeigh and Holmes attacked another resident in Lisbon, threatening the homeowner and firing shots into a bedroom window. Thankfully, neither the couple nor their 9-year-old daughter were injured during the attack. Forensic analysis linked the shotgun residue found on Paul Smith's body to the residue recovered from the scene in Lisbon. Soon after, McVeigh and Holmes were charged with Paul Smith's murder and the attempted murder of the family. McVeigh was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 18 years, while Holmes received a 13-year sentence. The firm, the secretive drug gang associated with the failed attack on James Carlisle in 2016, was heavily involved in the drug trade in Northern Ireland. Despite being imprisoned, McKeown had allegedly ordered them to pay protection fees for selling drugs in his territory. Unlike other dealers who might have complied under pressure, the firm was unwilling to submit to such demands. In early August of 2019, 2 armed members of the firm, disguised in pig face masks, were captured on surveillance cameras approaching McKeown's residence in Warringstown. Although McKeown himself was still incarcerated at the time, the visit marked a clear threat to his operations. A week later, McKeown was released on bail regarding charges stemming from the 2018 aggravated burglary in Lisbon. On the evening of Monday, August 19, 2019, Malcolm McKeown visited a service station located less than half a mile from his Warringstown home. When he exited the shop, he returned to his car parked beside the building. It was then that 2 armed individuals, linked to the firm, emerged from behind the service station and fired multiple shots into the driver's side of McKeown's vehicle. He was hit 6 times and died instantly. Shortly after the shooting, a blue Volkswagen Passat was seen leaving the service station. About 10 minutes later, the same Passat was found burned out in Lurgan's Meadowview estate. Jake O'Brien and Andrew Martin, both from Lurgan, were arrested a week later and charged with the murder of Malcolm McKeown. Prosecutors suggested that the gunman had been waiting in the blue Passat behind the service station for up to 50 minutes before ambushing McKeown. Both Jake O'Brien and Andrew Martin pleaded not guilty, but that changed in May of 2024 when Andrew Martin altered his plea to guilty, admitting to aiding and abetting the